for me, please. Thank you.
Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirabhishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarini Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanechari Jamuna Tira Vanechari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Haribo. Thank you, Mata. Every time you sing is better than before. Also, Antara. Very good, Mata. You are my nightingales. And thank you for for her to sing, which is very nice of you, Antara. And we're gonna go now for our super nectar now. There you go.
From January
So where
28th.
January 20. Okay. Namo Visupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinanane Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Niversesa Sunavadi Paskacha Desatai. Now, you all can hear? No problem, huh? Okay. January 28, 1976. Srila Prabhupada is enjoying his walks in the mornings. He mentioned today that he finds it especially pleasing that he can take his full exercise without leaving our property, because it's still a little brisk before the sun rises, and he's wearing a saffron-colored cape to prevent catching a chill. And he enjoys the company of the young Gurukul students as they join him on the road to enter the temple for the deity greetings and Guru Puja. He derives a great deal of satisfaction from the enthusiastic participation in the dancing and chanting. They share a natural rapport, and he returns their affection with smiles and words of encouragement. After lunch this afternoon, Prabhupada sat at the end of the veranda, enjoying the view of the Ganga. Suddenly, loud shouts and the slam of a door broke his tranquility. He sent me to investigate. I found Tamal Krishna Maharaj sitting in his room before a plate of prasadam, clearly upset. He had just had an argument with Harikesha over who should get the remnants of Srila Prabhupada's prasadam. As I stood, Harikesha came back in and began berating him again. Several days ago, Tamal Krishna had asked Prabhupada if he could eat the extra that was cooked for him, because he found the kind of rice that the boys eat here in Mayapur too coarse for his digestion. Prabhupada had approved. I think that is the mota rice. If you all know what I'm talking here, is the mota rice. There was plenty available, and we plant here in the Mayapur at that time. However, Harikesha had previously received instructions from Srila Prabhupada while we are in Vrindavan that all of his remnants would not be monopolized by his immediate servants. Should be distributed to other devotees. As a cook, Harikesha resenting Tamal Krishna acquisition of all the leftovers, while Tamal Krishna argued that he was only taking what was left on the pots and not what was left on Prabhupada's plate. Thus the dispute. Tamal Krishna also complained that he should not have been interrupted while he was honoring prasadam. Prabhupada called them both on the veranda. After hearing their arguments, he managed to resolve the issue to everyone's satisfaction. Prabhupada said that Harikesha should not have interrupted Tamal Krishna while he was eating. Respecting prasada is a very important function, and there should be no disturbance. He said that otherwise, one's appetite is lost and indigestion results. He gave his permission for Tamal Krishna to eat what was left in the pots, but also confirmed his desire that his prasada be distributed. He told us that there is absolutely no difference between what is on the plate and what is on the pot. Whatever cooked for Guru or Krishna, it is all prasadam, and all just as spiritually potent. When I mentioned that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita there was a distinction between made Mahaprasadam and the remnants of the deity offering, and the Mahaprasadam, which is the spiritual master remnants, Prabhupada said that the distinction was made for reference only. It is all prasadam. Then he went on to explain that the Vaishnava attitude in dealing with one another is one of humility. He gave the example of the pilgrims that come here to Mayapur. As one man comes along the road, another tries to touch his feet. The former shies away from being so honored because he's thinking, I'm not a Vaishnava. I'm just an ordinary man. I'm simply trying my best to become a Vaishnava. On the other hand, the person who is touching his feet is thinking that unless he gets the dust of a Vaishnava in his head, he will not be able to advance. Actually, Prabhupada said, this is a fact. Only has to be blessed by a devotee to become a devotee. And he who is a servant of the servant, 100 times removed, is not worse than one who direct serves the Guru. If one thinks because I'm direct servant, I'm better than others, then he is not a Vaishnava. To offer one's respect to Guru and not to his disciples is wrong. This is not Vaishnava. Only has to be humble and try to serve all Vaishnavas, not some and not others. January 29, 1976. Prabhupada is taking this morning walk on the roof every day now and following the same daily routine. Massage at 10 a.m. on the veranda and answering letters. Lunch by 1:30 p.m. and rest and return to downstairs by 4 p.m. Okay. Next, please.
Anushka Mata.
A short report arrived from Hansituta, who is now back in Germany. He stated that relations with the government are getting worse. They are harassing the devotees and threatening more raids on the temple. Although after months of investigation and persecution, the only offense they can attribute to us is a very minor one of collecting money without permission. On this basis, they are freezing our bank accounts and withholding DM 700,000. The German devotees the German devotees are becoming discouraged but are still struggling to distribute books. In the meantime, since he left our party, Hansaduta has been busily purchasing vehicles for the formation of an all India village to village traveling Sankirtan party. 245-seater Mercedes buses and a van will be driven overland to India to arrive by the festival. As well as this, he has decided to introduce the program in Germany, and 2 other buses have been purchased for touring there. Hansaduta expressed his devotional sentiments in his concluding paragraph. I feel helpless in this matter and pray to Krishna to give me intelligence to combat these rascals. I know that Krishna can reverse the situation in a minute, and if he likes, I may go on struggling a whole lifetime to convince them of the value of your message without success. Still, I am thankful that by your mercy, that I have been awakened to devotional service, which is the ultimate goal of life. I shall try to spread your teachings under all circumstances to everyone. Srila Prabhupada sent a short reply of encouragement, comparing their struggle with the fight between Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj, and to Kansa's fight with Krishna. Prahlad must come our triumphant, he told him. So similarly, in this case, Krishna will come out triumphant without a doubt. Prabhupada also approved his plan for village preaching. For the past few days, I have been going down to the kitchen with Prabhupada's approval to learn how to cook from Harikesha. We are using Srila Prabhupada's 3-tiered cooker. Previously, Harikesha timed things so that Prasadam was ready for Prabhupada immediately after he had bathed and dressed. But because he is taking his massage early now, Prabhupada has agreed to a fixed time of 1:30 p.m. for lunch. Because of his illness, Harikesha was late starting today. By the time Prabhupada was back in his room and Prasadam was due, we were still cooking. Foolishly, I did not go up and inform Prabhupada the reason for the delay. Although I thought of doing it, I grew increasingly uneasy as the clock ticked on to 1:35, 1:40. Instead, I kept thinking, another few minutes, and he'll be finished. Suddenly, floor burst into the kitchen. Hari, sorry. Prabhupada has been ringing the bell for the last 10 minutes and no one is answering. I think you had better go up. I zipped up the stairs full of anxiety and opened the door to Srila Prabhupada's room. I got down to offer my obeisances, but froze halfway as the blast of Prabhupada's anger hit me. I have never seen him so furious. He sat with his back stiff and straight, his face was flushed, and his top lip quivered as he shouted at me for being negligent. I've been ringing for 10 minutes. You didn't hear? Where have you been? Where is Prasadam? I tried to explain the reason why we were late, that I was just waiting until his Prasadam was ready, but the more I tried to pacify him, the more agitated he became as he rammed home his point. I don't want your prasadam. Don't bring it. You rascal. Now you sit in your room and don't go anywhere unless I call you. His anger had the right effect. Due to dullness, I had neglected my duty, which was to serve him and keep him informed about what was happening. His sharp words crashed through the cloud of ignorance covering my brain as I realized that my inattentiveness was simply Maya. I hung my head and stopped trying to defend my position. Finally, he relented a little. Now bring whatever is done. It doesn't matter. Just bring whatever is there. I ran down and brought up whatever was ready. He accepted it without any further comment and sat down at my feet. After clearing his plate and wiping the desk down, I retired to my room and did not stir from there for the rest of the day. There was no personal motive in his chastisement. Whether displaying anger or a soft and gentle humor, Srila Prabhupada is always on the transcendental platform. The effect of his instructions are always the same, no matter how they are delivered. One always ends up becoming more Krishna conscious. Srila Prabhupada is mercifully showing me the proper service attitude. In the spiritual world, everyone is fully and completely aware of their duty to Krishna at all times without even a moment's taken a battering, and I am left humbled and relieved with a deeper understanding of what real spiritual awareness is all about. January 30th, 1976. Gopal Krishna arrived today with news from Nellore. It turns out that the two sisters will not change the conditions on their gift of land under any circumstance. Srila Prabhupada decided on a radical solution to the dispute. He told him to remove the foundation stone from the property in Nellore and send it to Madras. He then sent a letter to Shravananand and Bhavabhuti instructing them to find some land immediately, buy it, and begin collecting for a temple. Gopal Krishna also reported that the contracts for the completion of the work in Bombay are now finalized and the work is set to go ahead without delay. In discussing the India projects, Tamal Krishna Goswami suggested to Prabhupada that his RDTSKP could send all their profits above cost, possibly $50,000 per month, directly for their projects in Puri, Mayapur, Bombay, and Kurukshetra, rather than through the Los Angeles BBT. Tamal thought that his men would be all the more enlivened if they knew specifically where their collections were going. Prabhupada was agreeable and he later sent a letter to Rameshwar to confirm these arrangements. At the same time, he informed Rameshwar that the BBT should immediately send $100,000 to India and then 7 lakhs of rupees each month thereafter to Bombay as part of the contract fulfillment with EEC. Chaitya Guru has been put up in charge of organizing the project of building more rooms along the northern side of the property here in Mayapur. The work is now going on vigorously. The plans have been drawn up and already 150 men are digging the foundation. The new building will run the full length of the land from east to west. It will be some 1,000 feet long, half the width of the existing guest house, and with the same style of arches and eaves. Looking across the building site from his balcony, Prabhupada tried to instill some sense of urgency into Chaitya Guru by stressing that he wants this all to be done by the festival. It can only be done by your mercy, Srila Prabhupada, Chaitya Guru told him. Prabhupada laughed and replied, and if it is not done, that means I have no mercy?
Okay, Mataji. Next one, Momita Mata, you want to read? Okay, Antara Mata.
January 31st, 1976. For many months, a thief named Agarwal has been master coding as Achyutananda Swami in several states. He's been making life members and keeping their fees. Our men only heard about him when the new members came to claim their benefits. He was eventually apprehended with stolen life membership forms, rubber stamps, and other paraphernalia. Before being handed over to the police, he pleaded for mercy. Thus, he was brought here to Mayapur to see Srila Prabhupada. He admitted to fraudulently using ISKCON's name to extort funds, but he claimed that he was truly interested in becoming a devotee. After speaking to him, Prabhupada showed great mercy. Rather than involve the police, he decided to give him a chance to reform himself. The man was to stay here in Mayapur, chant Hare Krishna and render some service. Agarwal seemed to be serious, even accompanying Srila Prabhupada on some of his works. Prabhupada therefore made no further reference to his nefarious activities. However, early this morning he was intercepted at the front gate. He was on his way out with his bags packed. Jayapataka Maharaja asked Srila Prabhupada what should be done with him. Prabhupada said, "We should turn him over to the police." Later in the morning, Agarwal was taken to the Navadvipa lockup and formally charged. It is an excellent example of the term unfortunate. Although a outright criminal, Agarwal had outshow or other received the special mercy of a pure devotee of the Lord. But because of his criminal nature, he could not take advantage of it. Thus, he is now suffering the results of his mischievous deeds. Prabhupada has invited Gaura Govinda Maharaja at present in Orissa to come to Mayapur and translate his books. Since there are some delays in occupying in the newly donated land in Bhubaneswara, Maharaja is living there alone without men or money. So Srila Prabhupada felt it best that Gaura Govinda come here at least until the festival. Prabhupada continues to follow his usual daily routine. The days are quiet, with no visitors to speak of. It is satisfying to see him getting the well deserved rest and replenishment he needs. Harikesha, however, is getting sicker each day. This morning, as I messaged Prabhupada on the veranda, he watched Harikesha slowly emerge from his room. Harikesha was pale. He hunched over as he shuffled along the veranda to the bathroom before going downstairs to begin cooking. Though it was 11 a.m., he had just got out of bed. Srila Prabhupada asked me what he plans to do. I told Prabhupada that Harikesha thinks his condition is colitis, and he feels that if he stays in India, it will only get worse. He feels that only a return to the West will enable him to get well. But while he feels this way, Harikesa just doesn't want to leave Prabhupada's service. But Prabhupada told me that one's health is primary. February 1st, 1976. As I laid out the straw mat on the sunlit veranda to prepare his massage, Srila Prabhupada drew my attention to some sparrow making a nest. They had chosen a hole in the wall behind the electrical circuit box just outside Prabhupada's sitting room window. He said their chirping disturbed him at night while translating his books. So before they could build a complete nest and settle in, I removed the bits of straw they had gathered. But as I began to massage one of the birds returned and started to rebuild the nest, flying back, and the fourth with the small pieces of straw. I crumbled some paper and stuffed it into the hole and blocked it. So when the sparrow came back and found its access buried, he picked, undaunted, at the paper for almost half an hour, trying to open up the hole to continue its homemaking. When the bird found this too difficult, it flew off and returned with its mate. Together, they worked hard to remove the paper, eventually succeeding by picking and tugging in unison. They removed the paper and began to build again. All the while, Srila Prabhupada watched them without comment. When the birds flew away to get more straw, I again filled the hole with the paper, and this time forcing it in so tight that the sparrow couldn't possibly remove it. The sparrows returned and spent a long time trying to regain access, but this time were unsuccessful. Eventually, they accepted defeat, gave up, and left. Prabhupada then draw a interesting parallel. He told me that even though the birds had eyes, they couldn't see. Although they were trying so hard to build their house, they couldn't see that the person who had prevented them stood nearby watching. So they continued on in ignorance, trying to make adjustment and struggling against the superior arrangement. He explained how, in the same way, the materialistic person, though having eyes, were unable to see how Maya, the material energy, is supervising all the efforts. They simply struggle on, making adjustment, hoping to improve their lives and secure their place in the material world, not understanding that Maya is watching their every move and defeating them at every step. Next one, please.
Okay, anyone wants to read?
Lakshmi?
Hare Krishna, Mata.
Yes, okay.
As promised, Mr. Chowdhury and family arrived. Srila Prabhupada happily received him like a father receiving his son. Prabhupada showed him the plans for the Vedic city and the land which he wants the government to acquire for the project. Then, with Jayapataka Swami, he looked over the entire compound. Mr. Chaudhary promised to help Jayapataka Maharaj in every way possible to get the application approved. He clearly has the highest regard for Srila Prabhupada and was impressed with the Mayapur project. His wife was even more enthusiastic and challenged her husband that if he is truly a Hindu, then he must help Srila Prabhupada. Mr. and Mrs. Chowdhury took lunch on the balcony as we served them some sumptuous prasadam. Prabhupada sat to the side in his chair, hosting them graciously. While they ate, he kept the conversation light and jolly, thus allowing them to eat without distraction. Harikesha spent Harikesha spent considerable time in Srila Prabhupada's room this evening trying to um, pursue persuade
Persuade.
persuade Prabhupada to give him sannyas. His chief rationale was that unless one is sannyasi, it is difficult to get the facility to preach in our society. He said he has visited many temples, but is rarely asked to give a class, yet he feels that if he was a sannyasi, he should always be offered the opportunity to preach. Prabhupada, however, not only other practical considerations such as who would do this service of transcribing his nightly dictation, the cooking, and so forth. After Srila Prabhupada rose, sorry,
Thoroughly.
it's very noisy here. After Srila Prabhupada thoroughly defeated all Harikesha arguments, he then sent him out. I was out on the veranda as Harikesha emerged into the night air, his ego somewhat shattered, but in a quite blissful state. He was satisfied to have been put in his place by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. February 2nd, 1976. In the early morning, before Mangala Arati, Prabhupada sent me to get Tamal Krishna Goswami. He told him that after serious consideration, he had dedicated that Harikesha may take sannyas. He suggested that Harikesha traveled and preach with the Radha Damodar party. He should be trained to eventually take charge of one of the buses. This was clearly a surprise to Tamal Krishna Maharaja, who has successfully handled up the RDTSKP for the last 3 years. During this time, he has expanded the party's operation from one bus doing small festivals in colleges to more than a dozen vehicles with nearly 100 men selling tens of thousands of books each month all over America. He was a little worried because he and Harikesha do not always enjoy a smooth relationship. They are a somewhat volatile mix. Nevertheless, Tamal agreed to the proposal because Prabhupada wants it. He admitted that Harikesha certainly has the intelligence and qualification to do the job. As for his own personal service, Prabhupada thought of a good solution. Dayananda and his wife Nandarani. Dayananda is here in Mayapur hoping to learn Sanskrit. So Prabhupada said that if he become his secretary, he could personally teach him Sanskrit. Dayananda could then assist him with his translation work. Nandarani could transcribe his nightly work as well as cook. I was sent to inform Harikesha of Srila Prabhupada's decisions. The unexpected news immediately sent Harikesha in a mental spin. Simultaneously elated and distressed, he had happily accepted his defeat last night and was looking forward to staying with Srila Prabhupada as his menial brahmachari servant. I indefinitely.
Indefinitely. Oh my God.
And now, although he is happy about being awarded sannyasa, it means he will have to leave the party. He lamented to me. He lamented. So what is this?
Lamented. He was
Lamented.
sad saying this.
Uh, once you leave Srila Prabhupada's personal party, everyone knows you never come back. The the jasa is to be held in the 3 days. In another discussion later in the day with Bhavananda Maharaja, Srila Prabhupada decided that the deities for the proposed new temple in Mayapura should be life size, like the Hyderabad deities. He wants to install mm, he wants to install Panchatattva, Lord Chaitanya, and his wife Radharani as deities in Mata. Next one, please.
Okay, I'll read. Prabhupada, February 3rd, 1976. Prabhupada walked on the roof this morning. Sudama Maharaj told him that many students in the West are now beginning to appreciate his extraordinary feat of spreading Krishna consciousness all around the world. He said even some yogis and swamis hold him in high esteem for what he has done. Bhavananda Maharaj complimented Prabhupada as the only true resident of Bharatvarsha. He explained that because Prabhupada is the only one to actually fulfill Lord Chaitanya's instruction, Prabhupada gracefully conceded. He acknowledged that it is now a matter of history. Then Srila Prabhupada mused for a moment, thinking of the difficulties he has had with some of his god brothers. He explained that they are unable to recognize his achievements because of envy. But he said that this was not a new thing. Even during the time of his Guru Maharaja, although they knew Srila Bhakti Siddhanta liked him very much, they would refer to him as Kacha Grihastha, a rotten Grihastha. And he said that even now they are thinking, what is this? This Grihastha has come out more than us. Yet Prabhupada said that not all the Gaudiya Math men felt like that. Previously, his god brother Sridhar Swami had rented rooms from him in Calcutta when he was still a family man. He recalled how Govinda, Sridhar Maharaja's chief disciple, has appreciated him even then. He always used to say that Sridhar Maharaja, that Maharaja, you are seeing Abhay Babu as Grihastha, but he is more than many yogis. Continuing his walk on the ground, he went to the front of our land. He wanted to inspect the progress on the new building. There he questioned Jayapataka Swami about the Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math. They have erected a new building at the gateway to the property, meant to house a deity of Srila Bhakti Vinoda Thakura, the father of Srila Prabhupada, the spiritual master. Prabhupada wasn't at all happy about it. He felt that they were going over the head of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta had lived there for many years, but had never contemplated such a thing. Prabhupada told Jay Pataka that he should have challenged them, that he, Bhakti Siddhanta, could not understand where Bhakti Vinoda Thakur could be placed. You have understood. You are so intelligent, over intelligent. That means rascals. Over intelligent means rascal. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he remained so many years and he could not understand. You have understood to make Bhakti Vinoda Thakur a gatekeeper. You tell him next time where you go that you are over intelligent. Hridayananda Maharaj arrived from South America to be Prabhupada's secretary for a month. Tamal Krishna Maharaj will return to America and then come back to Mayapur with his men for the Gaur Purnima festival. Two brahmacharis, Mahavira and Viraha, also came with Hridayananda. Both of them are hoping to take sannyasa initiation. Boyish and eager. Mahavira is from North America but has been successfully preaching in Brazil. Vihara is somber Venezuelan with little knowledge of English. Both are in their mid-20s, and Hridayananda highly recommends them for sannyasa. He has a huge zone, the whole of Latin America, and is in dire need of sannyasa assistant to keep to help guide the booming projects. After settling in, Hridayananda Maharaj came to Prabhupada's room to give an update on his preaching activities. He read him a book review written by an Indian professor in Mexico, Dr. Vajpayee. The review stated that Prabhupada's books are more important because they expose the terrible cheating of bogus swamis. Prabhupada was so pleased to hear this assertion, he started in his seat. He was excited and happy that such a learned man was able to perceive how true Vedic knowledge is being spoiled by misrepresentation. This is required, he said. He requested that 100,000 copies of review should be made. He wants them distributed throughout India, especially Bombay and Madras, where there is so much propaganda from these bogus gurus and yogis. This is my intention, he said, to stop the so called swamis and yogis from cheating in the public. He feels this can be done by distributing his books. Such chal- such charlatans are ruining India's culture by concocting their own methods of spiritual practices. But now, by reading his book, important men are beginning to realize what is going on. Okay, anybody wants to read, they can tell me.
Okay. Should I go? During mail time, Srila Prabhupada heard from Sat Swarupa and Ranadir Prabhus, who managed the BBT mail order department in Los Angeles. They reported a successful year with collections of $20,000 for 1975. $20,000. In response, Prabhupada requested them to send the pamphlet, The Krishna Conscious Movement is Authorized, out to their members along with a book catalog so that they can purchase our books. He also told them that we are going to print more copies of Dr. VP's book review and distribute it widely throughout India. He has got practical experience of how they are cheating the innocent people in foreign countries. And he was reading, the authorized edition of Bhagavad Gita will help to stop the terrible cheating of gurus and yogis who are false and unauthorized. They also report that the BBT is preparing some blow-ups of the book reviews to be distributed here in Mayapur during upcoming festival. Prabhupada added a proscript to this letter, emphasized these are blow-ups are most important. Prabhupada considered these favorable book reviews to be very important. He keeps the most recent ones on file and regularly shows them to his visitors. He also pleaded with a new booklet. The Krishna movement is authorized because it presents the favorable endorsement of many respected professors. Chinmayananda had gone there in such accounts. Prabhupada is acutely aware of their production and distribution. In reply to Radha Balava in Los Angeles, he approved the new kind of water-resistant cloth cover and gold stamping. 70 to be no Yes, you can show that Bones skulls snakes in the dungeon. Prahlad was not actually attacked with the tridents, just threatened. It seems that Srila Prabhupada's idea of instituting examinations on Shastra has drawn an enthusiastic response from the GBC man, but also some consternation. Swarupa Maharaj wrote to ask whatever the devotees should be allowed more time to study. He said that this would mean less time in Sankirtan and other engagements, like cooking, building, managing, and so forth. Swarupa Maharaj suggested that we could establish a more structured college curriculum-style approach to the morning and evening classes, which are held in the temples. My question, he asked, is whatever the one verse per class format, which we have stopped way in preparation for the examinations. I would like to try such outline presentation myself and even suggest it to the GBC for introduction to the whole society. But I'm in doubt whatever is our desire or whatever, I may have the wrong idea on this. Prabhupada informed him that the exams are for those who want some academic qualification, just like a Brahmana with Shastic knowledge and a Brahmana without. It is optional, one who wants may take. The real purpose is that our man should not be neglectful of the philosophy. Since the exams are not to be held until next year on Gaur Purnima, for teaching class, he wrote, this should be discussed at the GVC meeting. It is if it does not hamper our normal procedure, then it is welcome. February 4th, 1976. In the early morning, Prabhupada took up the topic of cheating gurus again. He told us about some of the nefarious activities of a few so-called gurus. One well-known Swami had been found in bed with his secretary, so his disciple sued him. He also told us about a Sikh guru in America who enjoyed his disciples' wives, and they consider this a blessing. In Bombay, there is a deviant line of Vaishnavas who follow a similar procedure. When a couple gets married, the girl spends her wedding night with the guru so that she becomes Guru Prasadam. I have heard everything. In the course of the conversation, Hridayananda Maharaj revealed that he had himself drafted the review from Mexico. Dr. Vajpayee only signed it. But Prabhupada was not disappointed. The fact that the doctor signed it and showed that he agreed with the statements. Again, Prabhupada stressed that exposing box gurus is an important part of our preaching work, but he said that it can only be done if we are spiritually strong ourselves. Prabhupada regretted that sometimes his own men, through knowing the proper standards, don't always live up to them. In that connection, Hridayananda also had news of Paramahansa Swami, Prabhupada's former secretary, who hasn't been heard for several months. He had left ISKCON and he's now a gas station attendant in Oregon. Apparently, he and another sannyasi spent a month in Bangkok where they broke all regulative principles. Paramahansa returned to the USA, and the other sannyasi came to South India where he spent a few days with Srila Prabhupada before going back to Bangkok. His devotees also reported to have been going to see movies in Japan. On hearing this, Prabhupada commented, yes, I couldn't stand it from seeing his face. Prabhupada also mentioned another wayward disciple named Audalomi, who had been told by doctors that he would die within a few months. He asked to be given Babaji initiation. Prabhupada had reluctantly agreed, and thus Audalomi Maharaj came to spend his last days in Mayapur chanting Hare Krishna. But when another doctor informed him that he would not die so soon, he returned to his wife in the USA, gave up devotional service, and became like a karma again. He was last seen surfing in the West Coast. Added to this, another disturbing report was related about one of our sannyasis who is currently preaching here in India. Prabhupada shook his head regretfully. He said that he is doing his best to push forward this movement with whatever main Krishna sent him. Although he's aware that some of his men are deviating from the principles he has laid down, despite this, as long as a person is willing to keep trying, he's willing to engage them in Krishna service with the hope that they will eventually become purified and attain success on the spiritual path. In the meantime, they can do something useful for pushing on the movement. We have the next one. Shall I continue?
Sure, we
Okay.
could.
Who is that? Sovik?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
The acceptance of sannyas has become so popular recently that even some of the ladies are asking about it. Advaita Dasi sent an inquiry from Bombay. I am writing this letter on behalf of myself, as well as the other women in our society. Sometimes the question has come up, but no one seems to know the real answer about sannyasinis. I know that sannyas is the highest order of the spiritual life. Therefore, is it not possible that we can be eligible? Myself, I do not feel like a woman, although I am this body. Prabhupada's reply was concise and clear. Quoting from Bhagavad Gita, he told her, the soul is neither man nor woman, and for those engaged in Krishna service, there is no distinction between man and woman. Anyone acting for Krishna, he is a sannyasi or sannyasini. Spiritually, everyone is equal, but men, naturally, a woman cannot be given sannyas. But you should not be bothered because you are serving on the spiritual platform. Prabhupada complained to his secretaries that he is constantly being bombarded by requests for sannyas from devotees who are not fit to accept such an exalted position. It has become such a problem that he has approved a suggestion made by Tamal Krishna. From now on, any request for sannyas must be accompanied by a recommendation from another sannyasi or GBC. The request will then be considered at the annual GBC meeting here in Mayapur. If accepted, the man will be put on a 1 year waiting list and then initiated the following year. Hopefully, this will shield Srila Prabhupada from being unnecessarily distributed and help to further qualify the candidates. Prabhupada also told us that he wants the number of GBCs increased to 20. More and more he is referring new plans for preaching, managerial managerial arrangements and so forth to the GBC for discussion, taking a less active part himself. He wants them to become fully responsible for the management of the society. There was a big storm in the evening. The lights went out as huge gusts of wind blew sudden and furious. We had to run to bolt down all the windows and doors. Prabhupada sat happily undisturbed in the darkness of his room. The distant heaven, meanwhile, were lit up by multiple spokes of bluish-yellow lightning streaking across the sky, making an awesome display of the power of material nature. Prabhupada repeated that rainfall at this time of year is considered auspicious and very welcome. February 5th, 1976. The discussions of the morning walks are getting very lively now with Hridayananda, Tamal Krishna and Harikesab all debating with Srila Prabhupada on the latest scientific theories. They, of course, get soundly defeated. Hridayananda presented the theory that although God originally created everything, once things were set in motion, there was nothing else for him to do. Therefore, he is now inactive. God has become dormant. Prabhupada replied that being dormant doesn't mean being out of the picture. Prabhupada demonstrated this by using himself as an example. I am walking now, but if I choose not to walk for half an hour, that doesn't mean I am not active. The capacity to act remains. One simply has to understand how God is acting. Prabhupada explained that when he was a child, he wondered how the gramophone was working. He thought there must be a man inside the box, otherwise, how could it work? Although his perception was childish, still he knew there must be some person behind it. Similarly, nature is working and this indicates an active God behind it. Just like there was cloud and rain. Now it is not raining, he pointed out. So there is an activity already. It is being managed. So you cannot say God is dormant. He He is acting because his creation is acting. And God says, under my direction, the nature is working. How can you say he is the man? Vivekananda threw in another point of contention. The main argument among the atheistic philosophers is that God could not exist because if he exists, if God were good, then why would we be suffering? God would stop our suffering. Srila Prabhupada's swift retort exposed the faulty logic. Because you are criminal. There are so many persons in the state. Not all of them are suffering in the prison house. Only the criminals. So that is the proof you are criminal. He concluded by saying that whether we enjoy or suffer is simply a question of the use of our God-given free will.
Hey, Prabhuji.
Okay. Haribol.
We have still one more?
No, Prabhuji. I think the time is there.
Okay. We close here. After Guru Puja, we close there, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Neil. I appreciate your very kind service. And everybody else, thank you so much. I'm not feeling so well, so I'm gonna go. This is the time that I was a devotee, and probably I was in the way to India because I came in 76 to the festival, the Mayapur festival at that time. And so it's not worth that this part has to do with my being there at that time. Thank you so much, everybody. With your permission, I want to leave now. Please pray for me. As always, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Well,